Now, we previously saw that we can connect to this machine using RDP for Windows, SSH for Linux, and there's this third option called Bastion. So let's go and set up a Bastion server. We're going to go under Operations, and we can see Bastion is an operation. But in order to use a Bastion server, the Bastion server itself has to exist on its own subnet, and we had let Azure create the subnets when we created this VM. So we're going to have to go into Manage Subnet Configuration, and we can see that there's a single subnet, and unfortunately it's in taking up the full address space. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to extend the virtual network by an additional 255 addresses. And then when that's done, we're going to create a subnet just for the Bastion server. So I'm going to go under Subnets, and we're going to add a subnet, and it's suggesting Azure Bastion subnet. We can, I guess, name it whatever we want, but I'll accept that. And I don't know if we need to, it says it needs a minimum of a 27, so we'll reserve a 27 for it. We'll leave all the defaults, and yeah, we'll leave all the defaults and say okay. And so it's adding a second subnet to our virtual network. We can go back to the VM, and now we have a new name for the Bastion server. That's the subnet. It's going to create a brand new public IP address. It's going to put it in the existing resource group. Now, I haven't really explained what Bastion is, actually. Bastion is pretty cool. Basically, instead of RDPing directly into the box, I'm going to hit the create button while it's doing that. The Bastion environment is a more secure way of remotely connecting into an environment. And so you can set up pretty strong security settings so that you don't have an open RDP port. You can basically turn off your RDP port, and people would have to then connect to the Bastion server in order to get into this virtual machine. So it is a much stronger and more secure way of allowing administrators, authorized administrators, into your virtual machine. And so we can obviously create this as a marketplace image, or we can go into this virtual machine like we did under Bastion, and now it's creating a brand new Bastion server for us. And so this is basically a better way of connecting into Azure. And so after the deployment succeeded, we can see here that it's asking for the administrator user ID and password of the machine, and I'll do that. It does not require RDP, SSH, and it does not require a public IP address on the virtual machine. So it basically also saves you money in terms of having a public IP address. So if I click connect, well, then I need to allow pop-ups. No, it shouldn't be. Oh, pop-up blocker. That is a Chrome thing, I guess. And now basically I'm connecting into the virtual machine using a browser window. So how cool is that? This is a better way of connecting to virtual machines that does not require RDP, SSH, or even a public IP address on that virtual machine.